Oh, hi, welcome to my latest video. Well, in this one I'm going to do something a little bit different. It does involve computer technology, however, it's a legacy film type camera, 35mm. And it's from Canon, it's called a T70, and I've been looking for it for years. I sort of lost track of it over 20 years ago, maybe somewhere 22, 23 years ago to be accurate. And I looked for it several times since I started this channel, and I couldn't find it. But it got found accidentally while we were looking for something else in my wife's closet. It's an entire kit. It has the bag, it has the camera, it has a flash, it has a special accessory on the camera called a Command Back. It's a Canon T70 that was originally, goes back to being made sometime in the 1980s, to be honest with you. And I think at 1983 to be accurate. But I think I bought it like new a couple of years later, and I used it for several years, and it did very well. Like I said, it is film, 35mm. So they didn't have digital cameras that were worth anything back then, to be honest with you. So that was all you could really get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up, which, by the way, full disclosure, I already did open it up, and saw that nothing worked. The Command Back didn't work. The camera itself didn't work. Different problems, and the flash didn't work. By changing the battery and cleaning out the battery compartment, because even though there were alkaline batteries in there, they wound up, you know what happens when you leave them in one place too long. I should have taken them out before I put it away, but I thought I would be using it again. And they were completely deteriorated. I had to use a pair of pliers to get them out of the camera, and also the flash as well. And the Command Back has its own little battery, one of those little button batteries, a 3-volt battery, an oddball one, 2025. I had the 2072, which is more popular, but that didn't work. But let me open this up. I'll show you what I did and what came in it, and I'll show you if it works. Okay, here's the entire kit. Let me open it up. I still have the original manual to it here, T70. All the different things you can do with it. So in here I got 3 major parts. I got the camera itself. I've got a telephoto lens that I bought separately, and I got the actual Speedlight or flash. Let's start with the camera. The leather's really gotten old on this here, if you notice. They used to be really nice before I misplaced it. Take this out of here. And here's the camera. It comes with a kit lens. This is a 52mm that came with the camera when you bought, you know, with the camera and the lens together, the kit lens. I got an add-on here, which is called a Command Back. And the Command Back is a replacement for a simple back, and it opens up. And it actually can impress images onto the picture. It's in the upper right-hand corner here, so it'll be the lower rear corner of the picture itself, because it does a reverse, right? This thing communicates with the camera through various connections that it has. See these little contacts here that contact with equivalent contacts in the camera. This can come off. It's pretty expensive, if I recall. The camera costs, what, maybe about $450, and this is probably like another $100 to get this. But it's programmable. You can, right now it's in the off. You can set different modes, like put the date, look at the year, 83, January 6th. That's probably when this was made. I didn't, after replacing the battery, and the battery is like a little button battery that goes behind this little panel here. I didn't reset the date, I just left it that way for now. But I can have it do time, frame count. You also have the option of doing certain special functions, like exposures, a certain number of frames, interval timing, things that normally are built into cameras these days, but in those days you had to add an accessory like this in order to do it. Turn it off for now. Okay. And I'll put this back on the camera. There we go. So I can turn it on. It's got 2 on modes. It's got average, partial. It has automatic exposure capability. This has a microprocessor in it, so the microprocessor controls all of the functions. The actual motor itself is an electromechanical motor, and it automatically feeds the film in and wraps it around this spindle. And then when you're ready to rewind it, there's a button on the bottom here that you would push to rewind it. So it's got a lot of nice features for the time. It was an advanced camera. It does not have the ability to read the film. That would be the more expensive model of this that I didn't get. There's little bands on the film casing that'll tell you what type of film it is and what the ISO is. And some of the more expensive ones can read that and automatically set the camera. This one can't do that. But it's got, well, the average is the most common one. It's also got a partial average. I just turned it on. It's set for 800 ISO and it thinks it's on frame 1. It's not a lot of sensors in there, so it really can't tell at this point that there's no film in there, so it'll work. If I want to click it though, I better take this film cap off, or the lens cap off. Otherwise the automatic light measuring exposure will not work and it'll think it's something crazy. And it automatically, if I push this button, it tells you what it's sensing based upon the background. So it has to go to speed 30. Okay. So I can try it. Let's see. Notice it even counts the frames as I do it. And if you look through the little viewfinder, you see my hand there, right? You'll actually see it black out as the mirror moves in front of the opening. Okay, standard single lens reflex mirrored camera. I'll put this cap back on, even though that's got a filter on it to protect it. I'd rather not damage the main lens. Won't go through all the modes now. In a follow-up video, I may show more of the options if people are interested. Just let me know in the comments below. A lot of setups to it, a lot of options to it. But let me try the other lens. Here's the telephoto lens. It's not made by Canon. It's made by a company called Tokina. But it's the same type of lens. It can program. It can be put in programmed mode. And then it can automatically set the camera if it's set in the automatic mode, the automatic program mode, which is done by these bars here, lining up with the ones on the camera, right there. So that becomes automatic mode by having the green lined up. Take this lens off, push this little silver button here, turn counterclockwise until the red dots align and it comes right out. This one goes in a little bit differently. You got to make sure that the band is all the way to the left and locked. This one rotates once it's in here, and you got to line up the dots, push these together, and then turn the band until it locks in place. Okay. Take off the lens, and now it's going to be looking through a telephoto lens, which you can also see. It's going to be a little bit darker. That's the way a telephoto would be, but it's the same thing. It works fine. This particular lens is pretty good. It's a 35 to 105 millimeter. And you can set the focus and you can zoom in and out. So you zoom in and out by pulling the lens out. And you set the focus by turning it left and right. Okay. Cover back on here. We'll take this lens out. We got to turn the band all the way to the left until the dots line up. Pull that out. And then this one can go back in place. And we can turn it in place like that. So those are some of the basic functions. I do have a Speedlight, which is the flash. Unfortunately, it does not work. Just to let you know, I've obviously been in this case before. I had to take it apart and replace the batteries. Well, it was more than replacing on some of these, like these 4 here, these 4 AA's. I had to pull them out with a pair of pliers because they had corroded after more than 20 years of sitting there. And I did clean it out successfully. I even took the whole thing apart. You can still see the opening that I used here. And it had not leaked into the circuit board. But still, it does not work. You should hear it starting to whistle up, and then that light should come on. It never does. So this thing is dead. Maybe the bulb died with so many years. I think those things do have a lifespan to them. And if the bulb's not working, the board will not do anything with it. The batteries here are back into this thing. Now, it seemed to have lost the tension on the battery compartment. There we go. 2 batteries, same thing. They were corroded. I had to pull needle nose pliers to get those out of there. So I can lock this, but I said the spring is sort of worn out its spring a little bit. And there we go. It's all back together. A lot of different options to it. Pretty good camera. I do have some film that was in this case. Definitely won't be any good. It's color film. 24 exposure, 400 ISO. So if I open this up, you can see how we load this thing. The film goes this way up into the top, and then you would pull that over, which I'm not going to do right now. Although we'll probably try this film and send it away, along with some fresh film that I have coming in the next couple of days. But you pull this little tab, this little tongue, all the way over to this orange marker here, and then you close it and it'll automatically feed in. I'm not going to do that, but that's how this thing loads, and then it automatically goes to position number 1. It would show a little indicator of the film here if it saw film in there. Although obviously not having film doesn't stop it from working, because I can still take pictures, right? Oh, it's got the lens cap on. It went into low mode. Right? That back on. Again, it's got automatic metering, so you got to make sure you take the lens cap off if you want to play like I'm doing here. And I'll turn it off for now, back to the way it was. And that's it. That's what this camera has to it. So with that, be on the lookout for a follow-up video where I will use this camera. Since the flash doesn't work, it'll be done outdoors. And then I'll send the film away, and hopefully it comes back. At least some of the pictures looking good. They come back in digital form in addition to real pictures now, depending on what options you pick when you send the film away. So I'll do both, and then we'll see what they look like. So thanks for watching.